What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? What's today? Wednesday? Happy Wednesday to you, and welcome to another edition of the Believe That Daily Podcast with your boy Gamer Grunt. Here to talk about, I know it's long delayed. It's been rough. Like I said, my oldest dog passed away here a few days ago on Thanksgiving Day, and then I haven't really felt great. And then, of course, Monday night I had the chance to sit ringside at Monday Night Raw, which was a blast. I had a blast, man. I had a blast, and I just didn't really feel great yesterday. So, rough weekend leading into something I wanted to do for myself on Monday night to, bring my spirits up after my dog died. And then, yesterday I just didn't feel great. But we back on it now, here to talk about this 49ers loss and what was probably the final nail in the Saints season, in the coffin for the Saints season. And I understand, look, the division is still up for grabs. Number one's the Bucks, sitting at what are they, 5-6 right now? We're 4-8. I may have to go double check that. We're sitting third or last. We are in last technically, I believe, now after the following the official loss being counted against San Francisco. But we have to be realistic and look at that properly. We needed that win because we still play the Eagles on New Year's Day. We got the Falcons again. We got the Panthers again. We got the Bucks again. So we got three divisional games. The game against the Eagles, it's going to be tough. We have a bye week. I know I misspoke last episode about it being this week. I was confused. I was miscombobulated, and I just rode with it. I don't know what it was. It's actually after the Bucks game. I was completely wrong about that. So the Bucks game's this weekend on Monday night, I should say, Monday Night Football, and then the Saints have their bye week. If we can somehow get a W right now, if they can somehow get a W right now, that is going to do a lot. For the Saints, even if we just go in there and get a W for bragging rights and to show our offense can do something right. But let me go over something real quick. Do you want that right side part today? What you mean? I'm always the right side part. What you talking about, Barry? Go get a profile picture, Barry. I'm telling you. Who gets in the college playoffs? It's going to be USC. I mean, let's see. Georgia is going to be in there. I think Ohio gets in there. I think USC gets in there. I think Michigan gets in there. I don't know how that works. I'm really bad with college football structure. It's mad confusing. I'm excited for 2025 and they move on to a real playoff bracket. But I believe that's how it works, right? That's who my top four would be. I don't think TCU is going to be in there. Who would I say? Georgia, Ohio, Michigan. Yeah. And then USC. USC deserves to be in there. I don't think Michigan wins it all. Nah, Georgia's going to win it all. I mean, we can all joke and play games, but Georgia's going to probably win it all. What's going on, Caleb? I'm feeling better today, Brent. I am. What's going on, Paul? Once again, man, I'm about to open up the Discord here shortly in a few minutes as we do every single episode on the daily Believe That Daily Podcast. Hit the Discord link in the pinned comment. We also have switched to a public profile, our public figure page, and we are no longer a gaming page. The gaming that I'm going to do from here on out is be pretty limited, and it's be over on Twitch. I just don't have time to do everything, and I'm focusing my attention on what I like to do best, and this is this type of thing. So I'm rolling with this. We're going to be on YouTube with this, but I will be putting out Madden on-demand content on my YouTube. There'll be Madden content still, but the streams are going to kind of be lackluster as I shift my focus to this this kind of niche I want to put myself in, and then we'll do some Madden stuff over on twitch.tv/thegaminggrunt, but for here, we're doing it all. And every single night, we're going to be live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll be opening up the Discord, and y'all can hop in there and say what's up. But our stars are disabled because of that. So we do have the Cash App there, which is $ the Gaming Grunt, all one word. Of course, don't feel obligated, but is there. So everybody is tracking. You know what I mean? Michigan's looking scary. They are. And they trained perfectly for that Ohio State game. I think Harbaugh finally figured out exactly how to play Ohio State. He learned a lot about CJ Stroud. Look, they didn't just, I think Stephen A. Smith said it today. Ohio State didn't just lose and get that ass whooped. Michigan looks good, but all the way through, I still think Georgia is going to be the number one team in the country. I mean, they got tested against Tennessee and they whooped them. The only thing I can hope for is LSU kind of getting a feel-good win. But even if we don't, best of luck to Georgia. They're a damn good football team. I told you I like the quarterback over there. I like Barry, solid. But Georgia is going to be the team to win it all. I do hope the LSU Tigers can get a W, but we'll see. That left side pain when Jameis is in there, don't play. Hold on, wait, that left side part when I don't get what you're saying, Barry. I don't know. Are the Broncos there for the next 5 years? No, Jeff. I don't think I'm still a believer in Russell Wilson. I might be crazy. I am still a firm believer in Russell Wilson. It's been a rough year, but I think they're just going to try and build a team around him, and they're going to get him more protection up front. The play calling's a joke. You know, I would love to see them get not a new head coach, but definitely a new offensive coordinator. I mean, I know everybody blamed the play calling whenever he was in Seattle, and look what they're doing now, but I still think it's really the case. And I didn't think it was so much the case in Seattle. I didn't blame the play calling. I just didn't think it was a good fit anymore. I don't think he was really wanting to be there. And I think everybody wanted to move on. I think everybody knew it was time. Obviously, the Seattle Seahawks were looking like they won that by a landslide, but I don't give up hope. I think if you give him like a solid offseason to prep and train, and I don't know, maybe add some talent. Like they got draft picks now. They got a first, which was crazy. It's a crazy good deal for them. So, nah, I don't count the Broncos out for 5 years. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I like Dalton and Winston. I do not like any Dalton and Winston. I'm going to tell you why. Like, he was ranked as the 29th quarterback in the NFL power rankings. And I'm going to show you this again. We're going to pull these stats up. But while I do, I want to talk about this 49ers game. We're going to get straight into it here because I was waiting on somebody to bring it up, and we're going to get straight into the meat and potatoes of what we're going to be talking about today. And that is not just a loss, but a shutout loss to the San Francisco 49ers. I forgot what the stats were for the last time the Saints were shut out, but it's been a damn long time. Matter of fact, let's go look it up right now because we have the power of Google at our fingertips. When was the last time that the Saints were shut out? When was the last time the Saints were completely shut out in a football game professionally? The last time the Saints were shut out was in 2001, and it was against the 49ers. I'm going to say that again. The last time that the Saints were shut out was in 2001 against the 49ers. It was the longest active scoring streak at 332 games in almost 21 years. It took one season without Dennis Allen without Sean Payton and Drew Brees, without having at least one of them in the mix. It took 1 year, not even 1 year. What was that? The 12th game? In the first season without Sean Payton and Drew Brees to end a 332 game scoring streak. 21 years, the longest active streak. That's insane. And we were at the goal line multiple times. You can blame Andy Dalton having rough check down decisions. You can blame the third and long play calls. You can blame everybody except the defense. We're going to get people here in the Discord here shortly. My apologies here, but I'm trying to get into the meat and potatoes of it real quick. We had multiple chances to score. It was a total team loss. You got to look at Alvin Kamara and the 2 fumbles. I said it last week. I said it now. He's had more drops this season than he's had his whole career combined up until this season. And then the same with fumbles. He had 3 fumbles to my understanding. I think he had 3 fumbles total before this season. So far this season, he's had 4. And this is fumbles lost. That's the only fumble that matters in my opinion. So he had 3 fumbles heading into this season, right? Whole career. This season alone, he's had 4. You look at Melvin Gordon, right? Who's been cut, very recently for all the fumble troubles he's had. People saying he was just fumbling like crazy, leading the league in fumbles. He has 5. That's only 1 more than Alvin Kamara. And Alvin Kamara is leading running backs in drop passes as well. So I'm just saying it's rough. And the last thing I'm going to speak on is I'm going to bring up the stats. And that is... Hey, what's going on, Bob? Can you hear me? Oh, you can't hear me right now. Trying to get you unmuted. Hey, what's going on, Bob? Can you hear me, bro? Yo, can you hear me? Not sure what's going on here. But I'm going to hit into it right quick. Alvin Kamara has the 30 most, let's see, he's ranked top 20 in rushing attempts, 30th in yards, and he only has 1 touchdown, so he's tied for 49th in the league amongst running backs. He's averaging 4 yards a carry, 39th. I'm going to say that again. Because people are saying it's because he's been hurt, and I understand that. And because, he's been playing hurt for sure. I know he's missed some games, but he's top 20 in attempts. Top 20 in attempts. But he's 30th in yards, and he's tied for 49th place in rushing touchdowns. Averaging 4 yards a carry. That's a problem. We can't run the football. And you can blame the O-line, You can blame us not using Kamara appropriately. You know, they try to get him more involved in the pass game, but he's been dropping passes. And I'm really not trying to sit here and drag Kamara through the mud. I am not at all, because I love Alvin Kamara as a person. I love Alvin Kamara for what he's done for this team, the leader that he's been, really trying to live up to be. But we have to look at the facts that we can't rely on Kamara anymore. I mean, we relied on this guy for, 2 years now with MT out? How long have we relied on Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill to move the chains? Taysom Hill more of, course, occasional, big splash plays, gadget plays, right? But we rely on him in certain circumstances to get the momentum going our way and get the flow of the offense rushing. But also, who else has been in that number? It's been Alvin Kamara. Relying on Alvin Kamara until we can't run him no more. I've said for years we need to get somebody that's a true power back in there to complement Kamara. Ingram, I love him to death. But look, Murray was performing better. I wish we would have kind of kept Murray in that situation. I know Ingram was we're going into an injury, so it's a different story. But still, I didn't want to let Murray go. I love Ingram being back in New Orleans, but he's not able to. I mean, what is it? He's had 17 total carries, and within the 17 carries, he has 2 fumbles, and he's averaging about 2.7 yards a carry, I believe. The average, you might have, don't hold me to that one. I'm pretty sure I'm right with the rest of the stuff. I was reading about it today. So he's not, 17 carries. Like, you need a power back who's going to get reps. Use Kamara. You should be coming out in 2 running back sets like 80% of the game. Even if you have Taysom to the right, Kamara to the left, QB1, whether it's Dalton, whether it's Jameis, I don't give a shit. So whoever's in the pocket right there, going to check and snap the ball. You got two running backs on each side of you. Somebody, get Dwayne Washington in there. They need to have somebody who can run up the gut and help Kamara out. That's why I firmly believe we need to get Turner. We need to get from Syracuse. We need to get somebody in this draft, a running back, a power back, a bona fide run between the tackles back that can guarantee us 5.5 yards a carry when we need it most. That can get in there on the goal line without fumbling it. Because look, Kamara's not a big dude. He's got great balance. He can break tackles. He can catch the football normally. He can run routes like a receiver. He can make big plays. But you start sending him up the middle, that's going to limit him in all of his strengths. It's like you're abusing him for his weakness. And then what you're doing by that is tiring him out, which makes where he shines, he's less effective. You can't have that. You have to have somebody that's in there that's going to go through and get the hard yards, because Kamara is not that type of back. And when you make him that type of back, you're going to break him. And right now, we've relied on him. There has to be some type of plan going into the season, whether it's getting a young receiver, not just a big name. I love Jarvis. I know he's had injury problems. It's not on him, but we need to get another young receiver in there. Go sign somebody, go trade for somebody, go draft somebody. We have to get other people to get the pressure off of Kamara. I think we do get a quarterback this year in the draft, and I'll have a future podcast about this. I think we get Hendon Hooker in the second round, and I'm here for it. I think Will Levis could fall, and if he does, I think we should pick him up in a heartbeat. I know his stats haven't been tremendous this season, but he's an experienced quarterback. He's played 38 college games where he started. He makes plays. I think Kentucky had a rough year overall as a team. I like Will Levis, and I think because of his struggles, that gives us a chance to take a chance on him. Excuse me. I still think Hendon Hooker is going to be the answer, though, 150%. I think Hendon Hooker could come in and make just a complete change within the organization, within the team, within the locker room, and I'm 100% here for it. And then another sleeper would be probably Spencer Rattler, who could fall, I think right now he's like a 4th-round quarterback, and I don't know if we're worth taking that risk. I think Rattler personally should play another year because he's eligible. He came through and just kind of slaughtered Tennessee. He looked good. He's getting wins, man. A little too late to be a high draft pick this year, but if he does fall, if he decides to declare this year, I think the Saints could grab him like the 4th. Easy, and that would be a pretty good snack for us. I know it's with the torn ACL. I know Hendon Hooker has the torn ACL, but without that torn ACL, which in a speed recovery, regardless of whatever team he goes to, that's the only thing. That's how good he is. That's the only thing that's going to give the Saints a chance, to grab him in the second round. We don't have a first-round pick this year. We don't have the assets to trade up into the first round. We did that last season, and it's going to work out. I think Trevor Pennings's going to be a great left tackle. Chris Olave's already proven that he's already the best receiver in the locker room. He's proven that because the best ability is availability. I've said it, and I preach it, and I know it, and I trust in it, and that's what Olave has delivered to us. Even though the concussion, he's battled back to get yards in tough, difficult situations. He creates separation lightning quick. He has succeeded every expectation that was set with him, including mine. So I think it was a great move, but that leaves us without a first-round pick this year. And with the torn ACL, it does give a chance for Hendon Hooker to land in New Orleans, and I'm here for it. But if it can't be him, I could see Will Levis falling. But if it's not one of those two guys, I can't really think of another quarterback. I'm really confident in. That's realistically going to be within our grasp. And if we can't get one of those guys, you know, maybe Rattler, like I said, but then if that's not them, you have to go O-line, you have to go running back, you have to go safety for sure. You can kind of interchange those for best available. But I feel like those are the true priorities this year. But we have to go in there and figure out ways to get young, youthful talent in there that can do reps. We have names, but like these names are supposed to come in and help these younger guys out by getting some weight off their shoulders, but they stay hurt. And that's no offense, you know, it's not offense to them. I get it. They're more injury prone. And y'all know they're doing studies right now on the turf within the Superdome and how it causes so many injuries. So, and you have to mitigate that. You have to get some youth within the organization that can just take the pressure off. Get out there. Like, you'd have Jarvis Landry and Michael Thomas on your team all you want, but if they don't get on the field, those young guys are tired. And then we have to keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper into the depth chart. And that's good for some players, but then for others, it's like, man, I got to really pick up the slack. I'm still developing myself, and now I got to pick up the slack of somebody else, and I'm still trying to develop myself. We're just setting them up for failure, and it grows like wildfire. Like, there has to be some fire in the locker room this year, because otherwise we're going to see a couple tough seasons in New Orleans. It's been rough. Yeah, I mean, I know who you're talking about, Barry. I don't know. They kind of really relied on their run game. Tulane did. Their great head coach, who unfortunately is going to be leaving the organization and going to Georgia State, I believe, was a job he took. Good for him, but yeah, it's definitely going to leave Tulane hurt. And they got some good talent on that team, but we'll see what happens. I think if we don't get a quarterback this year, though, yeah, we have to go get a stop-bridge quarterback. Whether that's maybe Tom Brady, I doubt it. He would do something to go to the same division. You know, Tom Brady wants to come here for a year, sure. I'm down for it. Why not? Let's party. You know what I mean? But if it's not him, maybe Jimmy G. I'll make a podcast about this in the future about some quarterbacks that we could really target. Who the Saints could go after. But there's Gardner Minshew. There's Huntley out of Baltimore. There's a few quarterbacks that the Saints could really target if they wanted to. That could come in and give them a shot, but. There's still Jameis next year, whether or not y'all like it or not. He's still there next year. If we can't draft a guy, you have to get somebody out there that knows the system, and then go look at Caleb Williams next year if you don't do well. And out of USC, a kid's going to be a number 1 overall pick. If he keeps up the way he is. But I'm gonna go ahead and open up the Discord here to talk about this Saints loss. This is a Saints loss where we came into the San Francisco 49ers home, and Dalton had 0 passing touchdowns. 18 for 29 with 204 yards. I understand, those are decent, efficient stats. He's a game manager, but did he get the ball downfield and move the chains? No. He ain't loses the game, but he ain't win it for us either. And he's supposed to be leading the charge, leading the offense, as people put that type of blame on Jameis Winston, but will not hold Andy Dalton accountable to the same standards. But I'm done speaking on that because we hurt feelings out here. But moving on. You're telling me that you gave Taysom Hill 1 attempt, and it was a lightning bolt that just was called back because it was a good hit. Not Andy Dalton. Chris Olave dropped the ball. The contact from the ground knocked it and jarred it loose. It was an incomplete pass. Down the middle, great call. Great hit. Tough break. You're telling me you're not going to let Taysom pass it again after that? It was a dart, man. Let him out. Come on. And we just talked about this, New Orleans. The Saints are 3-0 when Taysom Hill has at least 9 carries. In games where Taysom Hill has at least 9 carries, okay? Saints are 3-0. So what do they do here? After that information, 6 carries, 13 yards. Granted, 2.2 yards averaging. But if you're telling me you couldn't get him out there in the pass game, or get the blood pumping, something. And then you go look at the rushing stats, and these are abysmal. Alvin Kamara, 7 rushes for 13 yards. Averaging not even 2 yards, averaging 1.9 yards. 2 fumbles for loss, 1 within the 2-yard line. I have to go back and look at the replay of that. It was right up there on the end zone, right when we needed it. Tough fumble, 2 fumbles, 2 losses. Mark Ingram comes in and does about where he's been at this year, 2.5 yards on average, 4 rushes for 10 yards total. His longest rush was 5 yards. Ingram's longest rush for the season's only 11, I believe, and it's really like 10.5. I don't even think it's a full 11. The longest rush for Kamara at 6. I think the longest rush he's had this season is like 17, which isn't normal for him. Receiving, Alvin Kamara coming in, proving where he does belong, and that's not by carrying the football. It's going to be in receiving with 6 receptions, 37 yards, averaging 6.2 yards per catch, and his longest reception being 10 yards. He was targeted 7 times. 7 times, 6 receptions. He had 1 drop. We didn't use him more? We didn't try to get him in the backfield because if we're going to check down, why don't we have Andy Dalton check it down to Kamara more? You're telling me 6 receptions? Target him 15 times then. Get him out there on more Texas routes, more little out routes. Put him on a zig route, like something. Get him more involved. It's the players that are making, like Raheed Shaheed, all right, was targeted 3 times, but he had 2 receptions and 53 receiving yards. He averaged 26.5 yards per reception. Raheed Shaheed averaged 26.5 yards per reception, had 3 targets, caught 2 of them. 3 targets. Let me show you the stat lines for that. 26.5 average. 2 receptions. Chris Olave, 12.4, 5 receptions. Jarvis Landry was averaging 10 yards per reception. He had a couple drops, but only 2 targets. They're not trying to. I understand who got the best defense in the league. The Niners, Mark. The Niners I understand the best defense in the league, but we're not even targeting guys. That's what I'm trying to say. There's nobody even trying to target them. He got stuffed Sunday. I know, but you get him more involved in the pass game. I know Taysom Hill got stuffed Sunday, but then you get him more involved in the pass game because that was a dart that he threw in the middle to Chris Olave. You're telling me you can't? It worked, so do it again. It worked. It was a tough break. Even the 49ers fans could judge, like, oh yeah, that was a good play. That worked. Do it again. Like, that's what I'm saying. I said in my status. I said in my tweets. Look, use Taysom until they stop it. Back to back to back to back. If there's a lightning, if there's some momentum, you ride the hot hand, you keep going. I know he's averaging 2.2 yards a carry, but the pass works, so pass it again. Whatever's working, you got to run with it. We got a good punter. Yeah, the MVP of that offense has been our punter the last 2 seasons, and that's saying a lot. It also says a lot that our leader in rushing for Sunday's game was Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton led in rushing with 21 rushing yards. Averaged the most yards per carry. I'm going to say it again. Andy Dalton led Sunday's game in rushing yards for the Saints. Andy Dalton had 4 rushes for 21 yards. 5.3 yards was his carry with as long as 10 yards. He beat every running back in every stat except rushing attempts. That's a problem. You're not going to win football games when that's a real stat. You can't do that. Alvin Kamara, he's a superstar. Like, that's what I mean. Like, he's supposed to be in the argument for top 5. Going into this season, he was easily a top 5 argument for running back. We can't have that. That's a problem. That's a problem. And you have exactly. Whether you want to give Winston a chance, whether you want to put Taysom at quarterback, you have to make some type of aggressive move and just see what happens. Poke it and see what it does. Hit the button and see what happens. Because we are 4-8. I feel like I'm every week. The only thing I'm speaking different on is the loss total, because I feel like I'm just repeating myself. Like, there's nothing to lose by it. Abysmal stats. We also gave up, we were pretty good against the run for the most part. Where it really was, I guess, would be in the receiving game. My secondary kind of get lit up. Jimmy G went 26 for 37, only 1 touchdown. But, overall, their defense really stepped up. Our defense did great, too. We held them 13 points. They could have scored a lot more on us. I'm not going to try and trash the defense too much. Like, the 49ers played efficient when they had to play efficient. It wasn't a beautiful win for their offense, but it was a great win for their defense. Shutting out a team for the first time in 21 years is huge. Like, against a team that hasn't been shut out in 21 years. All right, so we're going to open the Discord up now. I know I've been rambling, but, I had a lot of things to get off my chest. It's been a long weekend, so happy to have you guys in here. Slida, Louisiana, checking in. That's where I'm from as well. So let's get him in. Shout out to the Dell. I love Taysom Hill. Do it all, guy. Exactly, Marky. So look, y'all hop in the Discord. Come tell me your thoughts. We got Jay Smooth in the chat. Can you hear me, brother? What's going on, man? Can you hear me?
The legendary gaming ground. Good, man.
Hey, what's going on, man? Now, you're a legend, dude. Hey, so tell me, man, what's your thoughts about the Saints? Not just the loss, but being shut out for the first time since 2001, and how does that correlate with Sean Payton being gone?
Damn. It's a good question.
What do you think? What do you think? Why did they shut us out, man? Where did we really fail? What part of that offense?
Honestly, all I gotta say, man, is that I feel like not Taysom Hill. Well, the thing is, Taysom Hill, they didn't really utilize him, and I feel like, and maybe you could agree with me, everybody else could agree with me in your chat, they should have utilized him as much as they could this past game, because if they would have done that, they would have won this game. I mean, and then they only had him throw 1 pass, and it was an incomplete pass, but if I'm not mistaken, my man, Chris Olave caught it, but then he dropped it. You know, I don't know. I'm not. I think that's what happened. But that's what and honestly, the thing about I think it does hurt us that we don't have Sean Payton, because I mean, Sean Payton was a hell of a coach. He was a hell of an offensive head coach, and I feel like if he was a head coach, if he stayed with us as the head coach position, I think he would have we probably would have went further. I mean, I think we would have beat Tampa Bay. Would have beat them again. You know, Tampa Bay would not have beat us the last game if we had Sean Payton. But I mean, what can you say? You know, it just is what it is.
Sorry to interrupt you, man. My door just blew open, y'all. That's freaky. Hold on 1 second. My bad. Blew open. Hold on. Let me go shut it.
Oh, don't worry about it.
That was nice. Oh, my God. Y'all, if I don't make it back, y'all know what's up. Hold on.
So I'm guessing it's windy as hell in Virginia, huh?
All right. I think we're good. I think we're good. Good God. All right.
Is it very windy in Virginia?
Yeah, it's windy out here, man. Anyway, the thing blew open. Oh, man. That was nuts. But yeah, no, I agree. Here's the thing. I think if we didn't have Sean Payton last season, I think last year would have been just like this year. I think it would have been just like this year. I do. I think we really snuck a lot of wins out of last year, and this year really exposed how much depth we don't have. Because Sean Payton is pretty good at formulating offensive plays in a way where he's always been that way. You know, unless there's been occasions where he pulled back, you know, where he shouldn't have. And I always bring up the example in the Minnesota Vikings playoff game from a few years ago. And Taysom Hill was riding down the field and was about to get the game-winning touchdown. It was hot. The momentum was flowing. We called a timeout, put Drew Brees in, fumbles on the first play back. I'm not saying it's Drew Brees' fault, but sometimes, you know, we pull the reins back. That's really on Pete Carmichael, I think. But Sean Payton is that hot hand that understands where the momentum is. He can read a game. He's always been able to read the momentum of a game. And he can make aggressive play calls a little too often sometimes, especially if you overthink stuff and gets bored. But he knows how to run an offense, you know, geniusly. And without him there, it's basically two super conservative coaches, because Pete Carmichael can develop offensive players like crazy. Pete Carmichael can develop like crazy. Great offensive weapons. He just can't call plays.
But the problem is with Pete Carmichael is that, and it's the truth. When Sean Payton was the head coach for the Saints, Pete Carmichael never coached an offensive play in his life. When he was coaching for the Saints. So that's the thing. Is like, why are we still using him? It's obvious he can't really call plays, you know.
Yeah, and I feel like it is time to move on for sure. I just, you know, I think if they could keep on the roster, I mean, if you can keep Pete Carmichael there to help develop some receivers, like if you can put him as a wide receiver coach or something, he's developed some players in that Saints organization. But you gotta get him, you gotta get him out of that play calling booth for sure, or the sidelines at least.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you, Jay Smooth. Appreciate him. Anything else you want to say to the people?
What's up, people? Check y'all later.
All right, bro. Have a good night, man.
All right, man. You too, brother.
All right. And I'm definitely going to take a few more calls. Man wants to hop in here. But, you know, we're going to move on to this, you know, LSU loss. I know we're at 29 minutes. Usually I try to keep between about 30 minutes. I might go over it today just because it's been a few days. But we're going to go into this LSU loss. But where does this put LSU for next season? And where do they go from here following a really tough loss to a pretty talented Texas A M team, but a very young Texas A and M team? I mean, they've had a tough year for a reason, right? Like, they're pretty inexperienced. They're poorly coached. They shouldn't have won. Texas A and M they kind of whooped us. We were unprepared for that game. We were so focused on that SEC championship game against Georgia, and that's why I was worried about Texas A&M heading into it. I know I joke. I say LSU by 40. You know what I mean? I play games. But, of course, I was nervous about this game. It's a rivalry game with Texas A&M. They have a capable young roster. If we get cocky, we don't prepare correctly, it's going to be tough. All right, so I'm going to pull up these stats right quick because it's not loading. But overall, look, LSU had a great year. Jaden Daniels and Brian Kelly, if they can somehow come out here and beat Georgia in the SEC game, it's at least something to go home and talk about. 23-38 loss to the Aggies. Jaden Daniels with only 189 passing yards. He had 84 rushing yards. This is where a big problem's been. I love John Emery. I do. He averaged 6.1 yards a carry. I'm not sure why we didn't rush him more. That's an interesting stat now that I'm looking at it. But regardless, John Emery hasn't been a huge stat pusher. I think he's at like 500 and some yards for the season. Jaden Daniels leads the team in both rushing and passing yards, with a little over 800 now at this point. Then you have Malik Neighbors doing what he does, and that's being the best receiver on that team. Whether Keyshawn Boudier is holding back, whether he's hurt, whatever the case, it just feels like week in and week out, Malik Neighbors is coming in and showing why he belongs to be at the top of that stat chart, which is where he is in receiving yards. Defense, once again, that secondary kind of got torched. They got some tackles, no turnovers. I don't think we had a single sack either. Didn't get to the quarterback. We gave up, 155 passing yards from Connor Weigman, 2 touchdowns. He's a freshman, by the way. Put that out there. I'm pretty sure Connor is a freshman, and he came in and torched us. And then where they really killed us was Devon Ashane with 38 carries for 215 yards. And I wanted to say that stat for last. I'm going to say it one more time. He rushed 38 times against the LSU Tigers. He averaged 5.7 yards a carry. He ran for a total of 215 rushing yards and 2 scores. That's Madden numbers. That's NCAA 14 numbers. Shout out to NCAA. It sucks they're going to get pushed to 2024, but that's the type of college video game numbers. 200 and that's why I'm like, maybe we weren't ready for Georgia. Maybe we're not ready for Georgia. Because if we just gave up 215 rushing yards, I don't know. That's tough. That's really, really tough. Y'all better figure out a way to go win through the air. Love you, man. I appreciate it. Look, man, I'm just saying LSU would be the ones to pull up some shock value and beat Georgia this week, excuse me. But for realistic purposes, yeah, if I'm a betting man, which I am, I'm not going to bet on this game because I would never bet against my Tigers. But in this one, I'm not betting on them. I got one upset a week that I bet on. This upset of the week is going to be the Texans versus the Texans over the Browns. I'm taking the Texans to win by 3 or 2 within a field goal. The Texans are going to win within a field goal. They're going to come down there, and Kyle Allen's going to drive down for a winning drive for the Houston Texans, and they're going to get a big game against Deshaun Watson and the Browns because the Browns are going to come in trying to do what they don't normally do. They're a run-heavy offense. You put the game on Nick Chubb's back, and you let him lead you to the promised land because he's the best running back in his league, and I don't hesitate. I don't stutter when I say that Nick Chubb is the number 1 best running back in the league. And that's the type of offense the Cleveland Browns want to win. And it's great for Deshaun Watson because he can really feed off that. And they're going to be a Super Bowl contender, in my opinion, for a couple years at least. As long as they can just really take Deshaun Watson's prime and just build around him. Because once he's there and he's performing in Cleveland, players are going to flock and they're going to want to be there desperately to be a part of that Cleveland Browns organization because that could be a true championship organization. But this Sunday they lose to Houston. This Sunday they come in, they are going to let Deshaun Watson sling the football. He's going to turn it over a couple times just because he hasn't played a regular season game in like 2 years. They're going to be confused on the game plan because they haven't had proper preparation because he's been out. It is what it is. It's going to be an upset. Like I said in the comment section, if you can all please turn your textbooks to page Russell Wilson, C-line, week 1. That's their reference for why I think Texas could get this W. The Houston Texans, can get this W. Hey, GG, I noticed your post. Why do you believe that Watson won't play well? That's why. That's right there. I don't think Watson's a bad quarterback. I just think he's going to have game rust. It's not that big of a deal. Is it that insane? Is it that insane that I think Deshaun Watson, and not just saying you, but I know like people came for me in the comment sections, which I love. I love the feedback. I love hopping there and arguing with you guys. It's my favorite part, right, about these takes that I have because it's how I feel, and I love when y'all argue. It's a good time. I enjoy having discussions with you guys. But y'all are coming from me in the comments. I don't think Deshaun Watson's washed. I don't think he's overrated. I don't think he won't be that special. I'll never say any of those things. I just think he's going to lose Sunday. I think he's going to come in, have game rust, and they're going to rely on him more than they should because it's his first game back. There should be pressure off of him. They run the football very effectively. Run the football. Use Deshaun Watson whenever you need him. You should be able to beat Texas without Deshaun Watson having to have more than 20, not even more than 15 attempts. Have Deshaun Watson coming and throw the ball 15 times. But make it a very key 15 times on play action. Make him look good. Let him game manage his first game back. If I'm Cleveland, that's what I'm doing. Don't get too excited trying to sell tickets. That's the only way you're going to get that's the only way you're going to win. If they don't do that exact game plan, and I'll say I'm wrong. I will say 100% I'm wrong if I am, if they switch it up and win. But if they do not make it to where Nick Chubb runs the football at least 20 to 22 times, there are 20 to 22 rushes. Maybe not Nick Chubb, but 20 to 22 rushes at least, at the very minimum. And just use Deshaun Watson within 15 pass attempts and maybe some rushing attempts. If the opportunity's there on a design QB run play or something like that, maybe. If they're trying to test something out, if they're up by a score or two, sure, go for it. But if they don't sit there and do that type of game plan, they're going to lose. They're going to lose, man. If they come out and try to sling the ball at Deshaun Watson as an L for the Cleveland Browns, and I stick by that. I got Kansas State with the upset over TCU. I do not, man. I got Bullfrogs. I think they're gonna be. I think they're gonna beat Kansas State by. I would say that much. They'd cover a 7.5 point spread. I'm telling you. I think TCU is good. They got everything about TCU. They're a complete football team. The Pelicans gonna win tonight. I'm hoping for Mark. Who they playing? The Raptors tonight, right? I'll have to go back and double check that. Pelicans looking good, man. Pelicans looking good. I'm excited to see what they can do with the young roster. Don't forget they got the Lakers pick next year too, so they're gonna do wonders over there. We'll talk more about them in podcasts to come. Right now, we've been kind of focused on football. We've been focused on these New Orleans Saints, these LSU Tigers, and where they can bounce back, where they won't, and everywhere in between. But that's where it's at, man. Wherever we head into, as we get closer to the game, we'll speak more about the Tampa Bay game. I think the Saints can go in there and pull an upset, but it's not looking promising. The nail's basically in the coffin, and a loss to the Tampa Bay Bucks here might as well be playoff elimination. Because there's not really a whole lot coming back from that. No matter how tough the division is, there just won't be enough time to catch up, even if we decide to run the table, after a possible loss to the Bucks, maybe. But I appreciate you guys. If you're here watching on Facebook, hit that like button. Hit that follow button. If you're not following already, hit me up on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. Stay safe, be kind to one another, and as always, who dat?